Hello, NFL fans, and welcome. Today, we are going to be breaking down one of the key NFL indicators, and that is point differential. What I noticed this year was that point differential is for real. And now, take a look at my screen up here. These are the top teams in terms of point differential. So, Seattle Seahawks made the Super Bowl. They outscored their opponents by 11 points a game. The LA Rams, they were vying to get into the Super Bowl. They lost to the Seattle Seahawks. They outscored their opponents over a 17-game season by 10 points per game. New England Patriots made the Super Bowl, outscored their opponents by 10 points a game. So you see a pattern here. Any team in black here, they made the playoffs. So if you just look at the top 10 in terms of point differential, all of these teams made the playoffs in black. So 90% of the teams over a 17-game period, the top 7 outscored their opponents by almost a touchdown per game. And that's significant. 5 points per game, that's almost a touchdown per game. And one of the things that stands out is the teams that did really well had good defenses. Now look at this. Seahawks only gave up 17 points a game. New England, 18, 19 points a game. Jacksonville Jaguars, under 20. Houston Texans, 17 points a game. So you can see a pattern here. If you got a stout defense and you could score some points, I know it's pretty obvious, but the numbers really do stand out in terms of the top teams. So these top 7 teams here, these top 7 teams are for real. Again, this is over a 17-game period. What we're going to do this year is we are going to start tracking point differential probably around week 5. And I'm going to put something out like this around week 5 so we can start tracking it. And we could, take a look at the teams that look like they're for real. If you guys are doing fantasy football or you guys are wagering on games, I think this will be a good tracker. And you could determine which teams that you consider that are real top 10 teams versus frauds. So as you can see, so this is the top 32. And down here at the bottom are my New York Jets. They came in dead last, 3-14, gave up 29 points a game and only scored 17. So no good quarterback play and no defense. The Jets lost their last 5 games by 23 points or more and had the worst QBR rated quarterback play probably in the history of the NFL. Had no turnovers last year, so that's why the Jets are where they are. But this is your teams here at the bottom. These teams are absolute frauds here. This is your bottom 10. One team that was in the bottom 10 made the playoffs, Carolina Panthers. Now, they made the playoffs because, number one, they played in a weak division. So that's number one. So strength of schedule makes a difference. Number 2, they probably won the turnover battle. But you remember, they beat the Rams. Rams were playing really well at one point in the season, and Carolina Panthers beat them at home. So I'm probably thinking maybe they got good quarterback play. I don't know the specifics, but turnovers usually are a key. If you're winning a turnover battle for the season, you have a weak schedule. That's probably how the Carolina Panthers were the only team to make the playoffs that were in the bottom half here. And then you got the Jets, Titans, Raiders. These teams all were very bad last year. And if you look at the points per game, they're all in the mid-20s. So in terms of a pattern, if your defense is giving up 25, 28 points a game, it's not a good thing. So this is your bottom 10 versus your top 10. But then there's that middle group of teams. And these teams, I call these guys frauds because they can fool you and think into thinking that they are real playoff teams, but they're frauds because point differential is not, it's about the offense scoring points versus the defense not giving up points. But in the middle, you got to win the turnover battle. Then you'll look more like a playoff team. If you are strong in the red zone, meaning you score in the red zone when you get there on offense, but your defense prevent team from scoring, you could be a team in the middle of one of these fraud teams. And, you could look better than you really are. Special team makes a difference. If you're scoring on special teams or if you're giving the offense a short field by good punt returns, good kick returns, quarterback rating. If you have a quarterback that is efficient, that, points per drive, they're very efficient, but you have a defense that is stout and explosive plays. If you have a team so take, for example, the New York Jets. it would take them 15 plays to drive down the field. You're burning up the clock, and you get down to the 1 yard line and you kick a field goal. As opposed to a team like the Rams, 3 plays they could score, explosive plays. Any plays over 20 yards per play. You look at a team like the Rams, they have explosive plays as opposed to the Jets. It's like watching paint dry with the New York Jets. So you could have a team in the middle, these fraud teams, but they could have key indicators that can make them look better than they are. Putting pressure on the quarterback, getting sacks versus not giving up sacks. So those things all matter. So this is some of the things we're going to discuss this season, but I thought it was just pretty obvious. The teams that were vying for a spot in the Super Bowl, they all finished in the top here. They all finished in the top half. And the team, let's just take a look at the teams that finished in the top 10, but they were below 5 points per game. So you look at the Detroit Lions, they did not make the playoffs, but their problem was on defense. They were giving up 24 points a game. They can score, but they also were giving up a lot on the defensive side of the ball. San Francisco 49ers, quarterback, they were injured. Now, their backup quarterback played very well. In fact, the backup quarterback was highly rated in terms of QBR rating when he filled in. So quarterback play was pretty solid. They won with a backup quarterback, but injuries overall. San Francisco was decimated with injuries. And also they played in a tough division. Strength of schedule, you got to play the Seahawks twice, a tough division. And then the Eagles, they gave up in the teens in terms of points per game. The Eagles gave 19 points per game, but their offense was wonky. Can't explain the offense. They was just disjointed this year in terms of the offense, and it got to be something else. I don't know if they lost the turnover battle, but the Eagles made the top 10, but I would consider these guys, they're on the borderline of being frauds because there's something else offensively that we were missing. So, and also, I know one thing about the Detroit quarterback. If you put pressure on the Detroit quarterback and you make him move his feet, you could beat the Lions. So that's just my observation. So number 1 team in point differential, Seattle Seahawks won the Super Bowl. Team number 2, LA Rams, they lost to Seattle trying to get to the Super Bowl. New England Patriots made the Super Bowl, outscored their opponents by 10 points a game. Jacksonville Jaguars had one of the best defenses, and the quarterback play improved as the season went on. Jacksonville could be for real in terms of the quarterback overall play has improved, especially those last 5 or 6 games. They were just dominant on defense. Jacksonville were peaking at the right time, lost to the Bills in the playoffs this year, and the Bills could not stop the run. That was one of their main problems on the defensive side, could not stop the run. In fact, they were like, if not 28th, 29th in the NFL in stopping the run. I think they gave up 124 yards a game. Houston Texans defense. I love watching those guys on defense. And if you look at what they did in the draft, oh man, this defense is going to be crazy next year. Their problem, quarterback was in and out, injured this year. And then just the offense, they just got to get better quarterback play overall. But yet they still won, finished 12-5 last year. So Houston, definitely a team to watch out for. And the Broncos, I think they definitely should have went further in the playoffs. Does this make sense to you? The Broncos coach went for it on 4th down, I guess, in that final game, and really wanted to show faith in a backup quarterback when you have a defense that only gives up 18 points a game. Instead of relying on the defense in that game, I think it was against the Patriots, like rely on your defense. You got a young quarterback with the Patriots, although May played well, and his QBR rating, I think he finished number 1 in NFL in QBR rating. He was on the road in a hostile environment, and the Broncos coach gifted New England that game with these crazy calls instead of relying on a defense that gave up 18 points a game. Makes no sense to me. We're going to start around week 5 where we're going to start tracking point differential. Please, guys, join me. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to be talking about stopping the run. We're going to be talking about red zone defense. We're going to be talking about explosive plays. Which team has the most explosive plays, meaning plays over 20 yards versus teams that do not give up explosive plays. We're going to track all this stuff this year. So join. I would definitely appreciate you guys subscribing to the channel, and I look forward to chatting it up with you guys. Peace.